In the ever-evolving landscape of U.S. China relations, recent developments reflect a complex interplay of aggressive tariffs, strategic maneuvering, and the looming specter of de-risking. With President Donald Trump back in the Oval Office, his administration is adopting a split-screen approach that leaves both U.S. financial markets and Chinese leaders in a state of uncertainty. While Trump has hiked tariffs on Chinese imports by 10% and threatened further increases, he simultaneously lauds his relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping and hints at potential trade negotiations. This duality raises questions about the feasibility of any substantial deal given the deepening economic divide between the two nations. Brendan Kelly and Michael Hirson, experts on Chinese economy and technology, argue that the optimism surrounding a new trade deal is misplaced. They point to the failure of the Phase 1 trade agreement struck in early 2020, which was intended to increase Chinese imports from the U.S. but ultimately fell short due to pandemic disruptions and shifting priorities under President Joe Biden's de-risking strategy. As both countries seek to reduce their trade dependencies, a new agreement is likely to be more symbolic than substantive. China's efforts to de-risk its economy from U.S. influence have been ongoing for over a decade, exemplified by the Made in China 2025 initiative, which aims to lessen reliance on foreign technologies. Following the 2018 to 2019 trade war, China has pivoted its agricultural imports toward Brazil, signaling a strategic shift away from American goods. Meanwhile, the U.S. has tightened export controls, particularly on technology, creating a tit-for-tat dynamic that complicates any potential reconciliation. The analysts emphasize that while a trade deal could theoretically benefit both nations, the prevailing political consensus around de-risking suggests that any agreement would likely be cosmetic at best. For Trump to secure commitments from Beijing to purchase more U.S. goods, he would need to navigate the tricky waters of domestic politics and international relations. The challenge intensifies with rising tensions over issues like Taiwan and the South China Sea, which could derail any cooperative momentum. Compounding these challenges, China's Foreign Minister Wang has criticized Trump's two-faced approach, highlighting the contradiction between imposing tariffs and seeking a positive relationship. Wang argues that the U.S. must abandon its confrontational stance for genuine cooperation to occur. He asserts that the U.S. has not achieved its goals through tariffs, as evidenced by an increase in the trade deficit and worsening inflation. Moreover, Wang's remarks during a recent press conference underscore China's commitment to maintaining its strategic partnerships and resisting U.S. attempts at isolation. He pointed to the enduring relationship between China and Russia as a stabilizing force in an increasingly polarized world and suggested that U.S. policies could lead to greater instability globally. As the U.S. grapples with its own internal divisions regarding China, the decline of foreign reporting from within China poses another layer of complexity. The dwindling presence of American journalists limits insights into Chinese public opinion and governmental actions, potentially exacerbating misunderstandings between the two superpowers. Jane Perles, a seasoned foreign correspondent, warns that the lack of comprehensive reporting increases the risk of crises spiraling out of control, as evidenced by historical incidents like the 2001 U.S. spyplane collision. Looking ahead, the prospects for a new trade deal remain clouded by entrenched positions on both sides. Trump's administration is likely to continue leveraging tariffs as a bargaining chip, while China remains steadfast in its pursuit of self-reliance. The interplay of economic strategy, political rhetoric, and international relations will shape the trajectory of U.S.-China ties in the coming years. If both nations do not reassess their approaches to de-risking and cooperation, the prospect of meaningful engagement may remain elusive, leaving a landscape marked by tension and uncertainty. The escalating tensions between the United States and China have reached a critical juncture as both nations engage in a renewed trade war marked by retaliatory tariffs and diplomatic posturing. Recent actions from Washington, including a sweeping hike in tariffs on Chinese goods, have prompted a fierce response from Beijing, raising concerns about the implications for global trade and economic stability. In a significant move, the U.S. government has imposed a flat 20% tariff on all imports from China, a drastic increase that comes just weeks after President Donald Trump returned to office. This decision has sparked a wave of retaliatory measures from China, including additional tariffs of 10 to 15% on American agricultural products such as soy, pork, and chicken. No country should fantasize that it can suppress China and maintain a good relationship with China at the same time, asserted China's Foreign Minister Wang during a press conference emphasizing the country's resilience in the face of U.S. aggression. As both sides exchange blows, the backdrop of these hostilities includes accusations from the U.S. regarding China's role in fentanyl smuggling. In response to these allegations, which China has labeled as unjustified, Wang has warned that the U.S. approach could lead to a law of the jungle scenario where the weak suffer under the might of the powerful. He stated small and weak countries will get burnt first and the international order and rules will be under severe shock. The trade conflict is not just a matter of tariffs, it reflects deeper economic and geopolitical rifts. Analysts highlight that the U.S. and China have been working to reduce their mutual trade dependence for over a decade, a trend that has only intensified with recent events. The previous Phase 1 trade deal, which aimed at increasing Chinese imports of U.S. goods, has largely been regarded as a failure. Undermined by the pandemic and shifting economic priorities in both countries, Trump's administration has adopted a dual strategy of raising tariffs while simultaneously seeking a new trade agreement with China. This approach, which some view as contradictory, could be seen as a means of leveraging tariffs to extract better concessions from Beijing. Tariffs can generate leverage to gain more attractive offers from Beijing, observed Brendan Kelly, a non-resident fellow at the Asia Society Policy Institute. However, achieving a meaningful deal may prove challenging given the entrenched political sentiments on both sides that favor de-risking, an effort to reduce economic reliance on each other. China's ongoing strategy of self-reliance, particularly in critical sectors like technology and agriculture, complicates prospects for a significant trade agreement. The Made in China 2025 initiative seeks to diminish reliance on foreign imports, particularly from the U.S., and has led China to diversify its agricultural imports, notably shifting from American to Brazilian suppliers. The recent tariffs on U.S. goods are a reflection of this strategic pivot, with Beijing signaling its willingness to engage in a prolonged economic conflict if necessary. As the situation develops, the potential for miscalculation looms large. Both countries are entrenched in their positions, with Trump's administration emphasizing American interests while China remains firm on its principles of sovereignty and self-sufficiency. The risk of further escalation is palpable, with warnings from Beijing indicating readiness to confront the U.S. if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war. "We're ready to fight till the end," stated a Chinese embassy message, underscoring the seriousness with which China views the current standoff. In conclusion, the deteriorating trade relationship between the U.S. and China signals a troubling new phase in global economic relations. As both nations grapple with their respective domestic pressures and international obligations, the path forward remains fraught with uncertainty. The interplay of tariffs, retaliations, and geopolitical maneuvering will continue to shape the landscape, with significant implications for global trade dynamics and economic stability in the years to come. The world watches closely as the two largest economies navigate this complex and volatile terrain, aware that their decisions will resonate far beyond their borders. In a significant breach of national security, 2 active duty U.S. Army soldiers and 1 former soldier have been arrested for allegedly selling classified military information to individuals linked to the Chinese government. The arrests, made on March 6, 2025 at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington state, have raised serious concerns regarding espionage and the potential risks to U.S. defense operations. The individuals charged include First Lieutenant Li Tian, a Health Services Administrator, and Sergeant Jian Zhao, a Battery Supply Sergeant, both currently serving at the base alongside Royo Duan, a former soldier who served from 2013 to 2017. Federal prosecutors allege that the trio conspired from late 2021 through late 2024 to transmit sensitive military data and equipment to conspirators in China. The charges against them include bribery, theft of government property, and the unauthorized transmission of national defense information. According to federal indictments, Tian was responsible for gathering information regarding U.S. military weapon systems, specifically targeting the Bradley and Stryker fighting vehicles. He would send this classified information to Duan, who then facilitated its transmission abroad in exchange for payment. In these couple of years, anything that touches HIMARS 3 to 4,000 is the starting price, Zhao allegedly said. Referring to the high-mobility artillery rocket system, highlighting the lucrative nature of the trade in sensitive military information. Zhao's activities reportedly escalated in mid-2024 when he began to sell encrypted hard drives in military computers, eventually moving on to sensitive documents related to U.S. military exercises and strategic operations involving China. Surveillance footage captured him photographing classified presentations at his desk, providing a clear timeline of his alleged espionage activities. Notably, he communicated regularly with a foreign national from China, even discussing prices for classified materials, demonstrating the organized nature of this illicit operation. The implications of these arrests extend beyond individual charges. They expose a broader trend of espionage targeting U.S. military operations. This incident marks a continuation of troubling patterns, as just last year another soldier, Sergeant Joseph Daniel Schmidt, was indicted for attempting to deliver national defense information to Chinese security services. Such cases underline a growing concern that Chinese intelligence agencies are increasingly utilizing insiders to gain access to sensitive U.S. military information. Douglas Olson, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Portland office, emphasized the gravity of the situation, stating Ruoyu Duan and Li Tian betrayed the oath of military service they had taken. Their actions caused significant risk and damage to U.S. national security. This sentiment reflects a dire need for enhanced security measures and vigilance within military ranks, particularly at installations like Joint Base Lewis McChord, which have already been flagged for similar breaches. As the investigation unfolds, it remains critical to monitor both the legal proceedings against these individuals and the broader implications for military security protocols. The U.S. government is likely to reassess its security measures to prevent further breaches and safeguard sensitive information, especially in light of the increasing sophistication of foreign espionage tactics. In conclusion, the recent arrests serve as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist within military institutions and the ongoing threat posed by foreign intelligence efforts. As geopolitical tensions continue to rise, particularly between the U.S. and China, the future of military security will depend heavily on the ability to protect classified information from exploitation.